The brilliance of Hormozi, and I think this is also what's so exciting about the creator space right now, is that he realizes that the people on that webinar, like that's not actually his customer. It's, this is his whole content business is basically just one massive lead magnet for acquisition.com. Like
Yeah.
he has something on the back end that is so potentially lucrative that like he can easily give up $1 million launch or a $10 million launch or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's no sweat off his back. And I think you're starting to see that, you mentioned the Paul brothers, Mr. Beast with Feastables. Like we're just now discovering that brand relationship between a creator and their audience is so fucking massively powerful for non-content businesses. And so I imagine that we're probably going to end up at a point where yeah, it's just a massive amount of free value is given up front. And then there's like associated businesses on the back end, like, oh, by the way, buy my chocolate bar next time you're at the grocery store, or, drink Prime next time you're thirsty.
Right.
And that's actually where all the money's made.
There's an argument that in the next 10, 20 years or so, you're only going to have like the top tier creators, and then you're going to have this long tail, right? So it's like, you mentioned maybe you agree with this because you just said the keyword land grab, right?
Yeah.
And when I think about land grab, typically I'm thinking about early days social apps, like, you got to take as much attention as possible. But land grab also typically means that you're willing to burn a lot of money to get there. So how are you thinking about this?
I'm burning a lot of money to get there. It's so funny, man. Like I'll talk to like some entrepreneur friends about like they'll be like, how's the YouTube thing going? I'll like be like, oh, we're doing this and doing that and the other thing. And every once in a while they'll be like, oh, so
you're making money?
Yeah. Are you making any money? I'm like, no, dude, I'm like setting briefcases of money on fire left and right.
Yeah.
It's the first time in my career I've done this, but to your point about the long tail versus like the handful of winners, the reality is that if you look at every creative industry, whether it's music, film, stage performers, like whatever, art, painting, you always end up with winners take most. Like it's extremely, I forget what the word is for it. There's like a name for markets like this, but it's, you end up, there's the top 50 musicians on Spotify make like 80% of the revenue. I don't see why the creator space would be different. I do imagine that there will be a very long tail of like middle-class creators, especially like super niche creators. People who are, it's like lawn care for elderly people. It's like, okay, yeah, that's probably like an $80K a year business or something. But yeah, you're probably going to end up with maybe 1,000 mega creators. I'm not super high conviction in this, but I do think there's a real possibility that like the 21st century major media companies are essentially born out of creator brands, right? It's like, it's not that hard to imagine how Mr. Beast could become the next Disney in like 30 years. Right. And if you look back at the history of the TV and film industry, all of the major TV and film studios were started within the same 15-year period, roughly 20 years after the technology was created. So it takes a decade or two for everybody to kind of figure out how to make something. And then once people figure out how to make it, you get this like the rich get richer effect. And pretty soon you're like, 2 decades after that, you've consolidated down to like, 10 major studios that are making 90% of the content.